witnessing a drastic change in the NFL that will alter the trajectory of the league moving forward. But the cause of this change will shock you. It's not a big sponsorship deal, it's not a player-influenced decision, and we're not seeing a strike put on by coaches for higher pay. The NFL is taking a page from the XFL's playbook. Why is one of the nation's biggest sports leagues copying something from an amateur league? One that needed a celebrity's endorsement to even stay relevant.
Let's create a unique football culture that is a reflection of who all of us are.
Well, this is how the XFL just changed the NFL forever, and it might just redefine the future of football as we know it. Subscribe for more content like this on The Football Freak Show. What even is the XFL?
The NFL stands for the No Fun League. The XFL is going to be the Extra Fun League.
They were competing with the NFL.
The XFL is a football league that's independent of the mainstream NFL. It was the brainchild of former WWE CEO Vince McMahon and NBC executive Dick Ebersol, both visionaries in their respective fields. They planned to create a football league so entertaining that it would take over the one and only NFL as the world's most watched football league. Literally standing for Extreme Football League, the XFL's debut season featured 8 teams and ran from February to May of 2001. It was far from the type football that the NFL played, introducing a more intense and rugged version of the sport. Defenders had the freedom to make contact with receivers at any time during play. Quarterbacks weren't protected from rough tackles. Plenty of other risky rules that made football fans love the sport from its early inception. And after all, the league was created to be a hybrid between football and wrestling, blending the intensity of both sports into one. The results were shocking, but not entirely unexpected. Players were getting injured at an alarming rate, and the viewership took a nosedive in the last few games of the season, which caused the XFL to lose its early momentum. The league went completely unheard of for over 2 decades until McMahon sold the league to another big name in wrestling, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who saw potential in reviving the brand.
This was something that's never been done before.
Many technological innovations.
There's no way a camera guy would get killed.
The league seemed to be back until COVID struck. But it was back again, resilient as ever, only to merge with another football league, the UFL, if it wanted to continue existing. Today, the XFL is far from what it was in its inaugural season. It still doesn't have the same rules the NFL has, but it's more organized, and unlike McMahon, Dwayne Johnson knows the league is only as good as the players who play in it. And the XFL is a lot safer than it was back in 2001. The league has taken a more cautious approach to player safety, prioritizing long-term health over extreme play. Maybe a little too safe for some fans' taste. Doing things the extreme way. Now, why else would the biggest football league in the world, the NFL, consider adopting a rule from a league that was intended to combine football and wrestling?
Cowboy tight end just signed a couple of days ago. Flacco rolling and running, and he's going to have to... Oh, not the ball comes out, helmet's off. Watch this, Joe with a good run, slides. Bends his head, helmet comes jarringly off.
That's not okay. Well, look, he knows he's going down, and at the end right there, he leans it down. Alonso, way too aggressive.
It's a curious move, but one that makes sense when you dig deeper into the reasons behind it. That's because the XFL might be actually better at doing something than the NFL does, protecting their players and having a more entertaining sequence of play. Although concussions sustained on kickoffs over the last couple seasons dropped by 60%, from 20 to 8, still wasn't enough. Kickoffs were returned less frequently after the NFL adjusted the rules governing kickoff returns last offseason, so that a returner could signal for a fair catch no matter where the ball was kicked, and the ball would be placed on the 25-yard line. The rule was designed to reduce the number of returns because a disproportionate number of concussions happen on the high-speed, high-impact collisions that occur in such plays, which are difficult to prevent completely under traditional rules. In addition, the league's injury data show that there were 700 fewer missed player games in 2023 than in 2022. The primary driver of the decrease was that there was a 29% decrease in strains during training camp, and with fewer initial strains, there was a 50% decline in recurrent lower extremity strains during the season, which had been a persistent issue for players across all teams.
That field wide open, Brandon Cooks.
and he gets smacked down at the 40-yard line, taking some shot there by Jenkins, who was spinning around, and he is down.
A little disoriented, turned around, looped back around, and never saw Malcolm Jenkins. And that definitely was a little helmet-to-helmet on that hit.
In the 2023 season, there were 52 ACL tears suffered, down 24% from the past 2 seasons. Having your team stars on injured reserve is detrimental to the league's viewership. Fans will attend games less, and broadcasting rights will also decrease in value, which affects the entire league's revenue and growth potential. It could be said that in some ways, injuries hurt the league and teams even more than it hurts the players. Because this was such an issue, teams were adopting plays and tactics that often resulted in not risking their players' fitness and health, and not returning kicks as often. This cautious approach became more common as teams prioritized long-term success over short-term gains. Kickoff returns were becoming as rare as Patrick Mahomes not appearing in the playoffs. In 2022, there was a kickoff return rate of just 37.5%. This was the lowest it had ever been, and just when it couldn't get any lower, it did. In 2023, only 21.8% of kicks were returned. This sharp decline alarmed league officials, who knew that the excitement of the game was being compromised. There are terribly low numbers, considering that only 14 years ago in 2010, 4 out of every 5 kicks at kickoff were returned. This drastic drop highlighted a growing problem that needed addressing urgently. The reason why kickoff returns were so low was because returning a kick wasn't the safest option for most teams. What the NFL needed was a way to get the number of returns up again, get the excitement back again, while keeping the number of injuries low. A delicate balance to achieve in any contact sport. How could they achieve the best of both? Well, that's where the XFL comes in, and changed the NFL forever. The XFL has plenty of kickoff returns, yet not as many injuries as NFL. The 2020 and 2023 seasons of XFL saw a return rate as high as 93%. That was enough to make the NFL envious and curious enough to try out the XFL formula of kickoffs, which seemed to offer the perfect solution. New rule, same game.
The all-new dynamic kickoff rule for the upcoming season will noticeably change one of the most iconic plays in the game.
With the new rule, kickers will still kick off from their 35-yard line. However, the other 10 members of the kicking team will line up at the opposing team's 40-yard line. The return team will have at least 9 blockers lined up in the setup zone between the 30 and 35 line, with at least 7 of those players touching the 35.
The kicking team will kick off from its own 35-yard line. 10 members of the kicking team will line up on the receiving team's 40-yard line. A minimum of 9 members of the receiving team will line up between the 30 and 35-yard lines. Up to 2 returners line up in the landing zone.
There will reportedly be up to 2 returners allowing inside the 20, adding more strategy to the setup of each play. Only the kicker and the opposing team's 2 returners will be allowed to move before the ball hits the ground or is touched by a returner inside the 20. This limitation on movement aims to reduce high-speed collisions and improve player safety across the board. Any kick that reaches the end zone in the air can be returned, or the receiving team can opt for a touchback and possession at the 30.
The landing zone is between the receiving team's 20-yard line and goal line. Play begins when the ball is either caught or hits the ground in the landing zone or is returned from the end zone.
Any kick that reaches the end zone in the air and goes out of bounds or out of the end zone also would result in a touchback at the 30, offering consistent field positioning. And as far as onside kicks are concerned, the trailing team has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the officials from the 4th quarter on.
Patriots for so long, now it's coming in here.
Oh, onside kick to start it! And the Jags have recovered, I believe.
If the ball goes beyond the setup zone untouched, the kicking team will be penalized, and the returning team's drive will start in the 20-yard line. Any kick received in the field of play would have to be returned, keeping the game dynamic and unpredictable.
This one will be returned by Sims. And he's out to the 26, and that is it. We're going to replay it.
Team owners voted and approved for this rule to be put in place for the 2024 NFL season as far back as March of 2024, signaling a significant shift in the league's approach to kickoffs. However, the rule is only guaranteed to last for the entirety of the 2024 season, after which the effectiveness of the change will be evaluated. The teams that perform well this coming season may be a question of who can adapt better and strategize plays around this new rule the best, and not just who has the best players. In 2025, when the rule is reevaluated, it will be primarily based on 2 things: kickoff returns and injuries. The 2 main reasons it was implemented in the first place. These metrics will be crucial to determining the rule's long-term viability in the NFL. In theory, this new rule should work, but there are a few things that might create an outcome far from the one we see on paper. Firstly, the talent pools of the XFL and the NFL are not the same, which may mean the NFL teams could need to rethink their special team strategies completely. Not all positions are equal in importance, and kickers weren't that high on most teams' scale of priority. Well, not until now. So with kickers being more involved in the game and possibly more prone to injuries, how will teams adjust to this? Will they forego talent in other departments to make sure they have the best kickers? Or will they work with what they've got? There are too many variables involved with this new dynamic to say a fixed result can be determined. But if it doesn't work, the NFL can go back to what they've always been doing or find a new way to do things. Flexibility will be key in how teams and the league respond to the outcomes of this trial season.
Need help with the rules. Here's Betts, pooches it.